They were the golden couple of gospel, praying together, preaching together, building what looked like an unshakable empire of faith. To the world, David Mann and his wife Tamela were a living testimony of love and loyalty wrapped in harmony and Sunday smiles. But under the polished hymns and holy branding was a rot so deep, so poisonous, that when it surfaced, it tore apart everything they had built. David Mann, the loving husband, the gospel icon adored by millions, the man people trusted as a pillar of the church, has been exposed, not just for infidelity, but for carrying on a secret affair with none other than Dr. Jackie, his wife Tamela's trusted friend. Yes, the same doctor. Jackie, who stood shoulder to shoulder with Tamela on women's empowerment stages, preaching sisterhood, loyalty, and faith. The same doctor. Jackie, who smiled in Tamela's face while betraying her in the most personal way possible. For years, she was slipping into Tamela's home, hugging her in public, and stabbing her in the back behind closed doors with her husband. And when Tamela found out, she didn't collapse into tears for the cameras. She didn't post vague Bible verses to hide behind. She lawyered up, filed for divorce, and turned her heartbreak into a public declaration of war. This wasn't just a marriage ending. This was a holy war, and the walls of the church shook under the weight of it. Social media erupted. Fans took sides. But Tamela didn't hide in shame. She prepared to speak her truth like a prophet with fire in her voice. Because when God gives you a platform, you don't whisper, you roar. And this roar was about to echo across every pew in America. For over 2 decades, Tamela had stood by David's side. Together, they embodied black gospel royalty. Her voice carried the pain and praise of generations. His presence painted the picture of the devoted husband. But behind closed doors, David was sleeping with the enemy. Dr. Jackie, celebrated as a women's empowerment leader and Bible mentor, wasn't praying for the Mann family. She was preying on it. This betrayal wasn't a sudden temptation. It was years in the making, hidden under the glow of pulpit smiles and prayer circles. Tamela's world cracked when she discovered a private video message of David confessing his weakness to Jackie, telling her she was his peace in the storm. Alone in her home, Tamela felt the wind knocked from her body. Every hug, every whispered, "I'm proud of you, sis," from Jackie now felt like a dagger. David and Jackie had spent years weaving their betrayal into the very fabric of the ministry. Secret prayer retreats, ministry conferences, late-night planning sessions while Tamela was on tour. Tamela had given David her career, her soul, her trust, and now she stood in the ruins of that trust. But instead of collapsing, she rose. She gathered every shred of evidence, texts, voicemails, hotel receipts, and walked into her attorney's office with one mission: to reclaim everything she had built. She wasn't just seeking divorce, she was declaring war. The court filings were explosive, naming Dr. Jackie directly and revealing transcripts so intimate they could sour holy water. One voicemail from Jackie said, "You're not just her husband. You're the man God designed to match my soul. We were called to each other, David." When that hit the gospel blogs, chaos followed. Fans were in shock. Pastors scrambled to stay silent. Churches cancelled bookings. Youth groups tore down posters. Even gospel legends took to Instagram Live, shaking with rage. Dr. Jackie of all people. David's first attempt to respond came in a now-deleted post where he wrote, "We all fall short of glory. I'm just a man trying to find peace. Please don't judge me before you know my full story." But the world didn't want his story. They wanted justice for Tamela. The betrayal became a rallying cry. Black Twitter ignited, church elders organized boycotts, mega-church choirs replaced David's name with Judas in their skits. Even from the pulpit, shade was thrown. Be careful who you pray with, they might be sleeping with your spouse next. David's PR team tried spinning the narrative, claiming his connection with Jackie was purely emotional and born out of loneliness, but the receipts painted a different picture. This wasn't an accident. It was a calculated sin, protected and nurtured inside the very ministry Tamela had helped build. And Jackie? She stayed silent, offering no apology, only posting weeks later. Even angels fall, but God still uses broken vessels. Tamela wasn't interested in sermons on broken vessels. She was the storm now. She arrived at court in all black, no makeup, no frills, radiating power. When reporters asked how she felt, she simply said, "I'm not mourning, I'm moving." Rumors began circulating that she was naming names, other women, Other scandals, other gospel figures who had covered for David in exchange for access and platform perks. The turning point came when Tamela went live on social media, stripped of glam, stripped of choirs and production lights, just her and the truth. "I gave him everything," she said, voice steady but edged with steel. "My voice, my youth, my faith. And while I was out here praying for our legacy, he was building a second one with my sister in Christ." She paused, eyes locked on the camera. "I'm not broken. I'm awake." The live exploded with comments. Fans declaring their loyalty, church members confessing their own experiences of betrayal, strangers applauding her courage. Within hours, David lost multiple brand deals, a gospel film premiere was cancelled, and Dr. Jackie's women's wellness tour collapsed as sponsors pulled out. Jackie attempted to paint herself as the one who had offered emotional refuge to a lonely man. But that narrative disintegrated when a journalist from the Christian Ledger leaked court documents revealing David had quietly transferred large sums of money from his and Tamela's joint account into a ministry fund under Jackie's name just weeks before the affair was exposed. Tamela's legal team hit back hard, freezing assets, filing for fraud, and demanding a full forensic audit. Now, the scandal wasn't just about betrayal. It was about financial abuse, spiritual manipulation, and calculated deception. David stayed silent. Jackie tried to weaponize faith, but Tamela wielded truth like a sword, slashing through every lie with each post, each interview, each public statement. A friend close to her summed it up best. "She's not singing about heartbreak anymore. She's preaching survival, and the world is listening." The final day in court felt more like the climax of a spiritual battle than a legal proceeding. The gallery was packed with church elders, choir members, longtime fans, and even enemies disguised as well-wishers. Tamela entered dressed in black from head to toe, a veil covering her face, mourning not just a marriage, but an entire era of lies. David avoided her gaze as the bailiff handed the judge a sealed folder labeled Exhibit M Confidential Audio Recording. When the judge pressed play, the courtroom became a confessional booth with no escape. David's voice came first, smooth and calculated. "You know Tamela is not going to leave me, right? She needs the image more than I do. But you? You're the only peace I've had in years, Jackie." Then Jackie's voice, dripping with arrogance, let her sing those sad songs. "You're coming home to me, David, and that's the only gospel I believe in." The room gasped in unison. A church mother fainted. Another woman cried out to God, and a young attendee clutched her Bible as though it were a lifeline. Tamela didn't shed a tear. Instead, she removed her wedding ring, held it high for all to see, and let it drop to the courtroom floor with a metallic clang that echoed louder than any sermon David had ever preached. That was the sound of the end, and the beginning. The prosecution wasn't finished. A private investigator, hired by Tamela's legal team, took the stand and presented months of surveillance evidence. Time-stamped photos of David and Jackie entering hotels, receipts for couples' spa packages, and Valentine's Day dinner reservations booked under a fake ministry name funded through Jackie's nonprofit. The gallery murmured with outrage, but the atmosphere shifted again when Tamela's daughter, Tia, was called to testify. Her voice trembled as she told the court, "I came home early from rehearsal one day. Daddy wasn't supposed to be there, but he was. And she was in my mother's kitchen, wearing her robe, cooking his favorite meal. They froze like criminals. I never told my mom because I thought I was protecting her, but I was protecting a lie." Tamela turned her face away, unable to look at her daughter, yet unable to leave. By midday, David Mann was stripped of the image he'd cultivated for decades. A man without a pulpit, without moral authority, without defense. "Doctor." Jackie's composure cracked when the judge announced her marriage counseling license would be suspended pending a misconduct investigation. She whispered urgently to her assistant, "Get the PR team ready," but no crisis manager could undo what came next. Tamela took the stand. Her words were quiet but landed like thunder. "I served God beside a man who was serving himself. I built a kingdom while my crown was being stolen by a friend. I wasn't just betrayed. I was spiritually assassinated, and I will not be silent." The room went still. "I forgive them," she continued, "but I release them. This divorce is my declaration of freedom. My new gospel will be built on truth, not tradition. I'd rather be alone with God than chained to a lie in his name." The judge ruled in her favor, granting the divorce, awarding spousal support, and ordering the liquidation of joint assets. But even before the gavel struck, the gospel industry was already unraveling around David and Jackie.